After all the wild weather we've had this spring, many people in the community are concerned about storm damage, not just considering safety, but also the cleanup, dealing with contractors and insurance companies. It can be daunting. So this morning we have Philip Holland and Pete Fusaro here, owners of H&F Exteriors, who've been helping St. Louis families navigate these scary situations for 7 years now. Thank you both so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so let's first talk about what is so daunting? What are we so afraid of when we're dealing with the storm damage?
I mean, the very first thing is, should I file a claim?
Then you get the paperwork, the money.
How about, how do I pick a contractor?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Bad contractor stories all over the place.
All over the place.
Right.
Scams, can I trust them?
Right.
It's really scary to even approach. So let's start with the first one, making a claim. How do we know if we should make a claim?
The thing is, every insurance company has a different standard for what they say, yes, this is a claim that you should approve.
Okay.
And so we train all of our team members how to identify exactly which each an insurance company needs to say, yes, this should be approved for a full replacement. So we can come out and give you a good analysis and an honest opinion.
Okay, so an honest opinion.
Absolutely. And the thing is, we don't ever want to say there's no damage, but sometimes there's no damage.
Right.
It's okay.
Right.
You know.
And that's just part of that honesty.
Absolutely. You have to be honest with it.
Okay, so let's say you make a claim, you're going to get all kinds of paperwork. So how can you make sense of that?
So that's one of the things our project managers will do individually with each client. So we'll go through every line. You'll get something that might be 15, 20 pages long.
Yeah.
It looks like Greek.
Okay.
We're going to go through literally.
Yes.
But we'll go through every single line. We'll explain every single coverage, everything that they did cover, things that they may have missed. We help with getting that all completed. And then the money part will just flow right into that. And people are always afraid, like, what am I going to pay? What do I have to deal with? It says $25,000 here, and they only give me a check for 12.
Right.
So we will help you through all of that, because that 12 is the startup money, and then they have a thing called depreciation, where that recoverable depreciation you would get later. You should never have to pay more than your deductible.
I call that the did you do the work money.
Yeah.
They'll give you the depreciation money as long as you complete the work that they prescribed.
Okay, and I'm so glad that you're saying you're really going to walk people through this step by step.
Absolutely.
With that transparency, because as you mentioned, I can't understand it. I don't know what they're trying to say.
It's scary. You've
It's
never dealt
really
with it.
scary.
How many roofs have you replaced in your life?
Zero.
Siding,
Zero.
windows,
Zero.
right? Like that's the whole point. That's our job.
Yeah.
We always tell people, look, pick colors, write checks. We'll do everything else.
Wow, which is just music to the ear. So then going off of that, how do we know who to choose to work with?
The thing about picking a contractor is the number one thing you need to do is stay local. Obviously, you should just call H&F Exteriors. But if you aren't, if you're looking at other options, make sure you check a few things. Are they licensed? Do they have the right insurance? And do they have a bond? A bond is what's called a surety bond that protects your money. Make sure you see this from any contractor you work with.
If you write me a down payment and you see my bond, you know that you can go to that insurance carrier and say, hey, this guy left with my money.
Right.
So always see a
That's
bond. It's
so
probably
important.
the one thing you won't see most often is a bond. Everybody will have insurance. Well, they should.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, like, look at their reviews. And what I would really say, especially after a big storm like this, go to the office that they say is their location.
Yeah.
Because what you'll see is out of town, fly-by-nights that rent a space. You'll know as soon as you walk in,
Yeah.
this place isn't local.
Yeah. Or we could just make it easy on you and call H&F.
I mean, we're
There
here.
you
We
go.
live here.
Yes,
So.
yes. Now we're gonna have to wrap it up here real quick, but for someone that's wanting to put off dealing with this, what would you want to tell them?
Absolutely,
never
do not
know.
wait. Do not
not
wait.
wait.
The
Yeah.
insurance carriers have timelines. They have, if you're in the storm, the carrier's out, they know what's going on. There's no question about later, like, well, did this happen
Yeah.
from the storm? Just get us out there, we'll tell you.
Yeah.
Not to mention, the storm damage is not going to fix itself. So you have to get it taken care of at some point,
Right.
sooner rather than later.
Okay, well, you heard it here first, folks. We're going to have that sense of urgency. You're going to want to take care of it. We have H&F Exteriors. Thank you both so much for joining us
Thanks for having
today,
us.
for helping
Thanks.
our neighbors face their fears when it comes to storm damage insurance claims. You can learn more by visiting kck.com/show.